The morning show here on Arise News. It is time now for the week that was, when we take a look at the top stories that made headlines around the globe this week. And we'll start with Nigeria, where in a fresh shock to Nigerian households and businesses, NNPC Limited during the week raised the retail price of petrol from 897 naira to 1,030 naira per litre. The 14.8% hike, which represents an increase of 133 naira per litre, marks the second time the cost will be increased in 1 month. This latest increase has intensified economic pressures on a country already grappling with inflation and widespread hardship. Arise News correspondent Frank Omalape reports.
This latest price increase makes it the second time the petrol price has been hiked in the past month. The company had in September increased pump price from 650 naira per litre to 897 naira per litre. For the average Nigerian, the reality of this latest price hike in the pump price is no longer bearable, leading to tougher times ahead. This sentiment is echoed by many across Nigeria, where purchasing power has been steadily eroded by inflation, rising food prices, and now escalating fuel cost. Some of the filling stations visited by the Arise crew in the FCT were almost deserted, as the filling stations had stopped dispensing fuel. And in another part of the city, motorists had to queue up to fill up their tanks.
I've been on the queue since 11 o'clock, and this is 251. Even with the increase in the price, we are still suffering. It's very bad. They should do something.
Honestly, it's very unfortunate. We are in a country where we are crying, earning at our pain, yet things keep getting worse, as if we don't have government and nobody is saying anything. They don't even want to know how we feel. They don't pity us at all. Yesterday I was there, the price was different. This morning it has just changed and nobody is saying anything. Who knows what will happen tomorrow?
The removal of fuel subsidies in May 2023 was a bold move by the government to establish market-based pricing in the petroleum sector and save the economy years of waste. However, the sharp and frequent increases in fuel prices have raised questions about the sustainability of the policy, particularly in a country where the cost of living is already so high. Some Nigerians expressed their view on the implications of the new pump price.
Matter was must spend like 10 litre. So now calculate 10 litre for this matter. Is it not NNPC? Because I will see the opportunity of NNPC. Oh, there are some people filling station 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4 like that. When you go to outside this thing now, you will see many people like that. 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4. Okay, when you carry passenger, you tell passengers, okay, pay 2,000 from Zubato here. Can you pay it? Can you pay?
Mass is the sofa. How much is the food today?
I think about 1,030 naira.
Abba. So fuel, poor man no go buy fuel again. You look at it now.
I can't even buy full. Maybe I'll buy the one that my money can buy. So I can't buy full tank of this car. As they have increased fuel now, it should be like 100,000. So, and I'm collecting 70,000 as a salary.
Retail prices, as displayed on the NNPC Limited website, show that while the depot in Calabar selling for 1,050 naira, Lagos is selling for 1,010 naira. In the same manner, the retail price for the product is sold in Port Harcourt at 1,045 naira and 1,040 naira in Warri. At the Dangote refinery, a litre of petrol is said to have hit 977 naira. This, according to the report, has led to the adjustment in pump price by the NNPC Limited. NNPC Limited earlier quit its middleman deal with Dangote refinery, a move that made marketers, including NNPC Limited, buy directly from Dangote at the cost-reflective price. With this recent increase in the pump price, the big question remains, is the petroleum sector now fully deregulated? Frank Omalape, Arise News.
In the meantime, the Implementation Committee on Domestic Sales of Crude Oil in Local Currency on Friday reported a successful transition of operations in line with the directive issued by the Federal Executive Council. This was stated during the committee's second post-commencement review meeting, chaired by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, to evaluate the progress of the crude oil and refined product sales in Naira initiative. A statement by the minister said the most significant change under the new regime is that petroleum product marketers can now buy the commodity directly from local refineries. This marks a departure from the previous agreement under which the NNPC Limited served as the sole buyer and distributor of petrol from local refineries. With this mechanism now in full operation, along with the commencement of local production, the committee said Nigeria is well positioned to transition to a fully deregulated market for all petroleum products. Okay, so Steve, another sudden increase in pump price. No explanation given. Some Nigerians believe it's insensitive. It has made a mockery of the new minimum wage, which has not even yet been implemented in some states.
Absolutely. I mean, they'll be very right, and you could hear from what people were saying, those that our correspondent, spoke to. I think that what this is all about to me is the insincerity of all the stakeholders involved, particularly government, in dealing with the issues surrounding fuel increase, surrounding how the government, either government directly as federal government, or the NNPC Limited dealing with the Dangote refineries and then bringing the fuel, lifting the fuel, to individuals. No warning whatsoever. No explanation whatsoever. The only explanation that we got is from the second story that you read, and of course what the committee chaired by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy is basically to say that we're just entering into full deregulation, which therefore means that depending on what transpires, either as it affects the naira to the dollar, or what transpires in the international market for the cost of crude, it might further, go up. And a lot of people are already predicting that maybe we'll be dealing with about 1,500, at some point. Many people who have thought that the Dangote refinery, the advent of the Dangote refinery will reduce their sufferings. And now we can't even hear from the man anymore because he's a businessman anyway. And he has done what he promised that he would do. He has built the refinery. The refinery can supply fuel. But then
it's even interesting. During the week, we had one of the independent marketers on Newsday, and he was complaining that they still have not been able to purchase directly from Dangote. He says, if Dangote is ready to sell to them today, that was, I think, Wednesday or Thursday, that they were also ready to buy and make the petrol available, because it's really painful that on top of all the price hike, we are still queuing to buy the petrol. I wish somebody could give us an explanation for that, really. It doesn't make any sense.
It won't make it right without the queues. But of course, let's see what happens next week, now that the federal government is saying that independent marketers can lift directly, from Dangote.
And before we move on still, we should also talk about the Senate President, that is telling us that, maybe it's time for us to reduce the number of cars, that we own, considering the fact that they are not reducing theirs. It's funny, isn't it?
Are you surprised that the Senate President is saying that? There's something about him that is comical, and I don't think that it will surprise anybody if something of that nature comes out from his mouth. We can reel out a series of insensitive things that he has uttered in the past. How many Nigerians have more than one cars? How many Nigerians, have cars anyway? And we're dealing with the majority of the people, even at the 70,000 minimum wage level, a minimum wage that cannot buy a bag of rice.
True.
A minimum wage that cannot feel like the lady said, on air, that cannot fill a tank, and they say reduce the number of vehicles. Even if you have only one vehicle, and that's what the majority of those in the working class, have, it means that you will have to be filling your vehicles at least 5 days a week to come, to get to where you are going. How much will you fill? How much are you earning? I think the sense in this is about what is the endurance level of Nigerians.
Exactly.
I recall in 2003, when the Obasanjo administration, raised the price of fuel from 25 naira to 40. The man who is now in the Senate, was the NLC chairman at that time. And I recall what he said at that time, saying that Nigerians you will kill Nigerians if we accept this thing. And of course, he led the NLC, to protest. Where is NLC today? The last we heard, from them was that they agreed to the 70,000 because the president promised them that there won't be any.
Well, during the
increase.
week, we had Ben Sanopa on Newsday. He's the spokesperson of the NLC. And he talked about the fact that we keep asking the NLC to act, but that when they call for protest, very few Nigerians actually turn up. That it's not only the trade unions that have to take action in all situations, but then I guess like you said, government is banking on the resilience. Most times they usually praise Nigerians for their resilience.
One of the most
they know
countries,
that we will adjust, we can adapt. We have very strong shock absorbers, if I can use that word, here in Nigeria. It's painful, but then which way Nigeria?
Sadly so. All right, we'll proceed. The police unsealing of all entrances into the 23 local government areas in Rivers State on Monday created a Herculean task for some of the newly sworn-in council chairmen who were initially prevented by explosions and arson perpetrated by hoodlums allegedly sponsored by political opponents. Correspondent Andy Omano has the details.
Sounds of gunshots around Obiakpo Council barely less than 20 minutes after the newly elected council chairman, Chijioke Ihunwo, swore in 17 councillors at the legislative chambers of the LGA. Scores of people sustained varying degrees of injuries in the process.
We are disappointed with the Nigerian police because if you look at the council is close to a station, a divisional station. But we are disappointed. We are happy that the house have been proclaimed.
Aoda East Council also witnessed the same, with one person feared death. Eleme Council was not spared, just like Ikwere and Emoha councils. While only the administrative section of Eleme Council was set ablaze, the entire secretariat complexes of Ikwere and neighboring Emoha LGAs went up in flames. Omuma LGA was also not left out. The development is now eliciting condemnations across the state and the entire nation.
We are aware that the enemies of the state will definitely take this approach since they have failed in every of their plans to see that Rivers State local government election did not come to play. And that is why we were begging the IG of police to see how he can tell the Zone 16 and the Commissioner of Police Rivers State to work in synergy to build the peace, the security architecture that will protect life and property.
The level of desperation of some individuals whom, when they cannot get what they want through the front door, they try to get it through the back door. But unfortunately, the local government elections have been concluded and the chairmen that have been elected have been sworn in. So now it's straight to the business of governance and nobody can stop that.
But the new chairman of Obiakpo Council has a word of advice for those responsible for the killings, arson, and protests across local councils in the state.
For those who say they want to burn our local government, people have served as council chairman, that's of Lady Chibu and others of the Lord. People have served, so why do you want to destroy, because of your own person, you want to destroy the property of the government? Because they have served your tenure and leave. I will do my own and leave, so we don't need all this distraction, people coming to destroy the secretariats because of their personality, because of what they want to gain. So I want to assure people that I will ensure that we work together as a team. And for those who are doing protests, I'm also going to call them that they should come back, because if they die, nobody, man sending them will not even pick their call. That is the worst part of it.
But despite the violence perpetrated across different council areas in Rivers State, many residents say the days of one strong man, godfatherism, and politics of thuggery are gone. They are now setting agenda for the new council chairman.
Why the local government chairman cannot fend for everybody in their local government? They can come up with policies that will touch positively the lives of everybody in that local government. For example, you can come up with grants, you can come up with loans, you can come up with... There are so many policies. All you need to do is get sound advisor that will advise you on what to do, the economic steps to take, policies to come up with that will benefit the generality and not just a microscopic few.
Of course, they know that the major problem in the country now is that of hunger. We expected that in the past decade, that the local government should open roads where our farmers can evacuate the produce from their farms to the market, to create access to them for finance, security, and of course, where the goods produced and in the farms will have free roads to the market so that people can have food to eat and train their children.
Soldiers are reported to have taken over the Ahoda East Council Secretariat, where one person was feared dead after being shot to forestall a reprisal. The police had early Monday morning unsealed the entrances into the 23 SGA secretariats on the order of the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun. Meanwhile, as the state grapples with these challenges, some of the newly sworn-in council chairmen have appealed to residents of their respective local governments to remain calm and peaceful, even in the face of provocations. It's Andy Omano, Arise News.
All right. I mean, rivers of crisis still in the news for the bad reasons. We saw what happened in the week of the local government elections and how some of the local government areas were attacked, even right on the day of the election itself. But I like the fact that the governor is not showing weakness. I like the fact that he has, he proceeded, with the swearing-in inauguration of all the 23 local government chairmen. I like the fact that the chairmen who were elected have, taken ownership of their local government areas. And I like the fact that the governor has also instituted a panel, to look into the causes and the perpetrators of those dastardly acts, in Rivers State. And I hope that will, I think it gave them about a month or something like that, to come up with their findings. I think that was a progressive move from the government, while still appealing to his, shall we say, former benefactor or godfather, to let him be, let him rule. But of course, he will be very naive if he thinks that having secured, for now, those local government areas, that peace will suddenly, return. It won't, sadly, in the manner that he will expect, and he will just have to be a man that is trying to be within the confines of the law, and to ensure that citizens of Rivers State are not just witnessing the fact that a governor is trying to hold out, but to also see that, because there is allocation, you're making money, you're raising IGR, let people at least also see, that you're working. It's a shame, isn't it, that one man will appear to be so powerful,
definitely,
as to be able to control, almost 2 years after he has left office, what is going, on there. But I also will not think that is something, surprising, given the fact that if you had the power to pick one man and install him as governor, no matter what anybody might say. Sadly, that is the type of politics that we play in this part of the society.
And, it doesn't seem like there's any end in sight, because even the governor now is using more or less the tricks of his godfather,
from his godfather.
Exactly. He's using the same tricks, to stay in office. But then I would like us to talk a bit, about the police. I doubt if anybody will say they're really surprised about the violence that erupted after this election. It is to be expected. I mean, I don't need to be an intelligence agent to know, that could have happened. So could the police have prevented this? The police that were nowhere to be found during the election, now they're talking about investigating and fishing out the culprits. Well, time will tell, but I would also like us to talk about Muyiwa Adejobi, who released a statement during the week, saying that the force takes exception to the unwarranted outburst of the governor and the police and the IGP, and it's a law-abiding institution, and is calling for caution and decency in the pursuit of individual political goals. Empty words. To me, what does that even mean?
I'm not sure if it is Muyiwa that writes these things, personally, particularly on Twitter. I mean, I read some of the things that, that come out of his handle, and I wonder, and I'm like, wow, this is supposed to be the PR person of the police, and the manner in which you engage, with basically anybody on social media. I think that he will need to up his game in that area. Even if you're trying to communicate what, the police command is doing, that, the sort of language that you use, the sort of intervention that should come from your end, I think that he will need to do far better, in my opinion, that he's doing at this time. Right?
Well, in other news, the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja on Friday stopped the People's Democratic Party from removing its acting national chairman, Umar Damagun, from office. The court pronouncement followed the emergence of two factions in Nigeria's main opposition party on Thursday, when acting national chairman Umar Damagun-led faction first suspended the National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologunagba, and National Legal Advisor, Kamaldeen Ajibade, before setting up a committee to probe their alleged disloyalty to the party. But the Ologunagba faction swiftly countered the action by also suspending the acting national chairman, Damagun, and the national secretary, Samuel Anyanwu, citing serial violations of the party's constitution. In a judgment delivered virtually, Justice Lifu held that Damagun is entitled to complete the remainder of Iyorchia Ayu's tenure as PDP national chairman. He therefore ordered that Damagun should remain in office until a national convention of the party is held to replace him. The judgment comes less than 24 hours after a statement emanated from the PDP that Damagun has been suspended. Well, Steve, so it seems that, our courts can work so fast. Imagine the speed at which they deliver the judgment.
Virtually.
And we have people like Nnamdi Kanu, still in detention, while facing trial.
I mean, now that PDP has been factionalized, I hope that they know, the implication of this, because if you're dealing with a master political strategist like the president of the country, you don't want to go into an election against him while he's a sitting president, with a divided house. But this is the situation that we have in PDP, especially, and we also know what is happening within the Labour Party's camp. If without a solid opposition, there will be little that you can do, ultimately when election time comes. But I think that this is a commentary on what PDP has become. If you are removing people on the basis of, alleged anti-party activities, so what happens to the one that is suspected to be behind all this, and nobody, it appears that nobody is able to touch him, So it is interesting that, like you said, the court can be so fast to deliver a ruling on the validity of the tenure of the chairman, and that may not be wrong in itself when you say that it is only the NEC that can remove him when there's election, and that won't happen until 2025. But then does it mean that if an acting chairman or a chairman of a party errs, the BOT or the NEC or all the constituted organs can place him on suspension? I wouldn't imagine that would be the point of having a party that a lord of the manor was, just suddenly, appear, and it says until the election, comes, in 2 years, in 3 years, nothing can be done to me. I don't think
I'm a bit worried, that the presidential candidate of the PDP has been silent, on this matter, considering the fact that he should also bear some portion of the blame for what's happening. I mean, this crisis is basically because of one man's personal ambition and the vengeful vendetta of another man that feels his ambition has been denied, considering all he has done for the party. So, I mean, this makes me wonder, really, what is the vision the ideology, the ideals of the PDP as a political party. I doubt if it's ever been about the people or about delivering good governance. Right now, it just seems like it's all about power, money, and control, which is really sad and, reignites the debate of, is Nigeria really sliding into a one-party state? Seeing as all the leading opposition parties, they are in crisis. And, the person that is fighting for the soul of the PDP right now seems to have found, or formed some sort of an alliance with the APC. So it's really scary right now what's happening.
It's very scary, and you're correct about, the candidates of the party, the presidential candidates of the party always been silent, when it matters. But then when the time to snatch, the ticket for presidential,
he becomes very vocal.
Let's hope that he's in town, or maybe he has found his way to that beautiful enclave in the Middle East where we're told that he's always hibernating. All right, we proceed. And Kenya's Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, vowed to fight his impeachment proceedings to the end. The Deputy President spoke ahead of a parliamentary hearing on Tuesday on charges of enriching himself, stirring ethnic hatred, and undermining the government. Gachagua, who played a key role in securing President William Ruto's 2022 election win, has reportedly fallen out of favor with Ruto. The Deputy President says he has been sidelined as political alliances shift. Gachagua, refusing to resign, has denied all accusations and plans to defend himself in Parliament. If the National Assembly passes the motion, the Senate will then decide on the impeachment. Interesting development from Kenya there. And of course, we knew that when that major protest happened, there will be, casualties, ultimately political, casualties. And it looks like what is happening between Ruto, who, by the way, was also a vice president himself before he won the 2022 election. And now, there's an obvious daggers drawn between the two of them, Ruto and Gachagua. And, with the impeachment, let's see what happens. It doesn't look to me like the deputy president has so much of a fighting chance, but he says that he will fight it, till the end. We'll see what happens.
Well, in the meantime, we know that the High Court has ruled, that his case should be referred to the Chief Justice. So we'll see if he can get a bit of a reprieve from there, which I doubt, because I know that most times the judiciary does not, tries not to interfere, with the work of the legislative. The president has been silent. Some people see it as, his consent, his go-ahead to what the lawmakers are doing. But then some analysts are saying that this is mere distraction from the real issues, the high cost of living. Some Kenyans have even said it's not only Gachagua that should go, but the president and his vice should be kicked out of office. So really, it is developing. We'll have to wait and see. If indeed Gachagua loses his seat, does it mean the president is really safe, considering the anger in Kenya?
But, he will have to, if Gachagua leaves, he will have to find a new deputy, won't he? Will that be democratic? Will that be... because it's strange, particularly here in, generally that a vice president or a deputy president will just be kicked out, in this manner. Even if things... And we recall an example in Nigeria between former President Obasanjo, and his deputy, Atiku Abubakar, at a time. They had to, they had to see it through. There's a way that you manage yourself, particularly if you're from the same party. There's a way that you expect that the party will intervene, that your supporters will intervene, and the court will also intervene, like it's happening in Kenya now. But it looks like that's not what we have at the moment in Nairobi. And
so we have to wait, and the Senate will debate and then vote on this issue later. Next week. Well, that will do it on the week that was, but let's take a minute or two to bring you up to date with a couple of stories making the rounds. Humanitarian workers and locals are warning of worsening hunger and malnutrition levels amongst internally displaced people in northeastern Nigeria amid the Boko Haram conflict that has raged on in the region since 2009. While aid groups such as the World Food Programme are assisting the displaced people with food and other essentials, many others remain out of the reach of aid, mostly trapped in hotspots and hard-to-reach areas. Boko Haram, Nigeria's homegrown jihadi rebels, launched its insurgency in 2009 to establish Islamic Sharia law in the country.
We are just managing. That's why you can see our children now. If like they have fever or something like cough, something like vomiting, we took them to the hospital. Doctor can tell us that no blood because they don't have malnutrition. They don't have balanced diet because sometimes child must eat 3 a day. Even adults, you eat 3 a day. But now, one man sometimes we no go get time to eat.
What's at stake is a younger generation with only one choice, and the choice are bad guys, because they will feed them and pay them. So we have to give them other choices. We have to provide the education. We have to provide the ability to grow their own food and be contributing members of their own community as well. It's a combination of things, and this is a long-term project. This is not anything that's that we can fix overnight.
Okay, and also former Peruvian President Alejandro Toledo reappeared Friday in the court in Lima as he faces accusations of receiving millions of dollars from the Odebrecht construction company during his administration. Toledo governed Peru between 2001 and 2006, promising to end the existing corruption networks. He was extradited from the U.S. to Peru in 2006, accused of receiving $20 million from Odebrecht in exchange of a contract to build a sector of a highway between Peru and Brazil. Toledo's Friday's appearance is the first since he was extradited. The prosecutor's office has requested 20 years of jail for corruption and money laundering, and Toledo has denied all the allegations.
Well, that's all on the week that was and stories making headlines.